Hello, Professor. My name is Oudomvitou, and for the Shared Custom Values and Beliefs presentation assignment, I'm going to be talking about the Byzantine Empire and the Aztec Empire. And the three topics that I choose to talk about is 1. Food, 2. Popular entertainments, and 3. Military technology. Now first, let's go on to food. Food is everyone's essential need. However, in this context, where we are talking about the civilizations, it is also able to express the natural resources available and the living condition of people in that particular civilization. It further shows how the difference in financial status display the degree of accessibility of resources. Now first, let's talk about the Byzantine cuisine. Byzantine, the city itself, was a bridge between Europe and Asia. Therefore, the cuisine was a great mix of different cuisines. They also adopted many culinary techniques and flavors from both Roman traditions and their eastern neighbors like Persians and Arabs. The Byzantine cuisine was Mediterranean-centered, meaning it mainly consisted of grains, olives, vegetables, seafood, legumes, wild greens, and fruits. Unfortunately, most of the population was not likely enough to even have such materials, let alone consume them. Instead, bread was the food of the people. There were different types of bread, such as artos, which are freshly baked white breads, pasimedia, which are hard, long-lasting bread, and tregonos, which are porridge. Olive and olive oil were other basic ingredients used in the kitchens of the Byzantines. In fact, they made up about a third of a person's total food intake. Next, the consumption of animal products other than seafood was not very common, and the reason for this is because eating animals was like a luxury. In terms of meat, the Byzantine cuisine consisted mainly of pork and sheep rather than beef and chicken preferred today. Meat was less common due to religious fasting practices. For instance, Christianity greatly influenced food culture and fast periods requiring refrain from consuming meat, dairy, and oil. Honey, spices like cinnamon and pepper, and imported goods like sugar were popular among the wealthy. And lastly, wine was the main beverage accompanying most Byzantine dishes, and there were also wines with various qualities. Next, let's talk about the Aztec cuisine. For the Aztec, their staple foods are corn, bean, squash, amaranth, and chia seed, and the vegetables and and fruits that they gather and incorporate into their dishes and consist of tomatoes, avocados, chili peppers, and native fruits like guava, prickly pear, and more. And for animal protein, there are turkey, duck, fish, insect, deer, and rabbit. And in the Aztec Empire, there is cacao. Cacao was heavily prized and consumed as a bitter drink, flavored with chili or vanilla. Therefore, it is often reserved for the nobles and rituals. Next, let's compare and contrast the two civilizations. Firstly, let's talk about the similarities. Both emperors relied heavily on natural available resources. For instance, for the Byzantine, grain, bread, legumes, olives, and vegetables, and the Aztec empires sparingly consumed meat, which is easily accessed by the wealthy or saved for special occasions. The wealthy in both empires enjoyed the resources unavailable to the poor or the common. And the differences there are the different consumption of foods, the different religious influence, and different accessibility to resources. Now, for the influence of on the Byzantine Empire, Christianity is highly influential. In addition to practices like traditions like fasting emphasizing spiritual discipline, and the Mediterranean trade allowed for accessibility to diverse resources. As for the Aztec, food was central to ritual and social organization, signifying its meaning with food and emphasizing the connection between subsistence, spirituality, and status. Because cacao was eaten in rituals and served as a symbol of luxury, it embodied the sacred and economic value of the item. Moreover, cultivation of corn, beans, and squash manifested the Aztec manner of life, depending so much on the land and developing agricultural practices which nourished an empire. Next, onto my second topic, which is the popular entertainment. Popular entertainment refers to entertainments that spread enjoyment among people of the civilization and bring people together and engage in social activities. For the Byzantine, firstly, there are the hippodrome, which is the center of entertainment in this civilization. The hippodrome hosted chariot races, which were immensely popular and often tied to political and social rivalries between factions like blue and greens. Next, there are theaters. Theaters showcase comedies, mimes, and pantomimes, often engaging the audience by mocking societal figures or events, while some performances incorporated music, featuring instruments like the kithara, flute, and pan flute, which were essential to Byzantine cultural expression. Next, there are religious festivals. Celebrations like Easter and Christmas were marked by both religious rituals and public festivities. These include processions, communal meals, and special performances. Next, imperial events. Weddings and coronations of emperors were grand public spectacles that involved feasts, music, and horse races. And lastly, music traditions. Music was present everywhere in celebrations with Byzantine instruments like organ and various flutes, creating lively atmospheres. These musical elements added both sophistication and joy to events. As for the Aztecs, there is Olamalisli, which is a popular sport played on course called Tlachli. Players use their hips to hit a rubber ball through stone rings without using their hands or feet. This game had a religious significance and was often performed in large ceremonial courts, and the losing team could face ritual sacrifice in extreme cases. And next, the Petoli, which is a gambling game played with beans or stones on a cross-shaped board. Players relied on strategy and a bit of luck to win. Next, music and dance. Music and dance accompanied by traditional instruments like drums, flutes, and shells were essential to Aztec celebrations, often performed during festivals dedicated to their god. Next, children games. The Aztec children played with toys and games like tag or used hoops for entertainment. Lastly, festivals and performances. Aztec festivals include dramatic performances and storytelling, which combined entertainment with religious teachings. Dances, music, and elaborate ceremonies honored gods. Now we are going to be contrasting the popular entertainment between these two civilizations. Firstly, the similarities. Both empires hold gatherings for entertainment. Both empires incorporate religious ideas into entertainment. Both empires incorporate music into entertainment. And as for the differences, um, there are different in the nature of sports, and there are different games, of course. And the influence. For the Byzantine, entertainment had become inseparably intertwined with political and religious life of the emperor, becoming a means through which emperors could project power and wealth before the people. The hippodrome, theaters, and music all become instruments to promote social order and Christian values. In this sense, music and magnificent public events contributed to cultural identity of Byzantium, and it ultimately trickled into the rest of the world, thanks to trade and diplomacy that spanned the empire. As for the Aztecs, all kinds of entertainment made Aztecs live in a context of religion, community, and cosmic order. Their ball games and other festivals preceded various rituals that gave meaning to the physical toward the divine. Aztecs' way of organizing festivals with music, dance, and sacrifice reflected their understanding of the need to help individual and community in harmony with gods. Next, we're going to move on to the last topic, which is the military technology. Military technology refers to the development and advancement of technology and innovation in preparation for conflict. Now, first, let's talk about the military technology for the Byzantine Empire. Firstly, they have Greek fire. Greek fire is a flammable liquid weapon provided a significant advantage in naval warfare, capable of devastating enemy fleets. And as for the armor, soldiers were heavily armored with helmets, shield, and body armor like chainmail or laminar designs. These offered protection while maintaining mobility. Now, as for the weaponry, people used spears, swords, and bows to fight in the past. However, later they focused more on fighting from a distance because better weapons like crossbows and composite bows were invented. And there were complex fortifications. Defensive architecture became more complex, with cities and military outposts featuring thick walls, battlements, and towers to withstand sieges. For instance, Constantinople's Theodosian walls consist of multiple layers of walls and moat. For the cataphracts, they are heavy cavalry that combine the strength of armored horses and riders, often equipped with lance and composite bows. And there were the usage of siege engines. Siege engines, such as battering rams, catapults, and siege towers, were used to destroy defenses. Now, let's talk about the Aztecs. There were macuahui, which is a wooden club embedded with sharp obsidian blades used for slashing and incapacitating enemies without killing them, which is important for capturing prisoners, for sacrifices, and there were bows and arrows, and darts and spear throws were also used in the Aztec Empire. And as for the armor, warriors wore cotton armor, which was lightweight, yet provided decent protection. And elite warriors donned elaborate feathered costumes and headdresses that donated their rank. The Aztecs excelled in ambush and psychological warfare, using loud war cries, drums, and banners to intimidate opponents. They built well. For the fortifications. They built well-defended city-states with temples doubling as defensive structures. However, the Aztecs focused more on offensive campaigns than on defensive architecture. The warriors, and as for the military hierarchy, the warriors progressed through ranks like jaguar, eagle, and eagle warriors elite until distinguished by their attire and skill. And as for the similarities of military technology between the Byzantine and the Aztecs, both empires have developed weaponry and military strategies. Both empires developed effective armor. Both empires have rankings. And as for the differences, there were different military approaches, there were different weaponry and technology, and different fortifications. And as for the influence, for the Byzantine, military advances such as the Greek fire and the Theodosian walls withstood for centuries. Invasions and fortified the imperial reputation as a mighty, perspicuous power. There were thus new advancements in Byzantine life and culture as well as Christianity against external invasions by the Arabs and Turks. The cataphracts, siege, and siege technologies of the Byzantine military spread to Europe and the Islamic world. As for the Aztec, even the military was a hardcore tie-up to culture through such weapons as the macuahui and capture tactics to collect prisoners for sacrificial happenings, and the jaguar and eagle warriors reflected the status of these men and their bravery, whereas cotton armor only helped with mobility and defense. Even in offensive campaigns, psychological warfare would further solidify the Aztec superiority and combining the luminous and religious identity with military might. And this is my references for this PowerPoint, and thank you very much.